In today's video we are going to take a look at yet another knife made by Maxace. I made quite a few videos here showing some Maxace or Midnight Cat Studios knives. I think they are actually the same, more or less the same company, or maybe Midnight Cat Studios sometimes designs knives that Maxace produces. I'm not entirely sure, but to me they are, I feel like I can expect the same fit and finish, factory sharpness, etc. regardless of which name is on the knife or on the box. So that being said, I've done a couple of videos now, and most recently I did a Goliath 2.0 and a Goliath 2.0 Bowie. And oh, by the way, I got notified by one of my viewers here that the Maxace Goliath 2.0 Bowie is now available in M390, which is pretty sweet because that is my preferred steel. It is one of my absolute favorite steels for a folding knife. The Maxace Goliath 2.0 Bowie that I have is in CPM S90V, which is not in any way a bad steel. It's actually, I think that version is actually slightly more expensive than the M390 version of the 2.0 Bowie. But it's just that my personal preferences is M390. As simple as that. Anyways, what we have here is the Maxace Balance 2021 it says, or should say if it was in focus, I'm not sure it is. So the Maxace Balance 4, it's written on Lamnia when I picked it up, and I will admit right away, I had no idea there was a Maxace Balance 1, 2 or 3, so this is my first experience with the Maxace Balance. And this is also one of the models that was requested by my viewers, that there is a pretty nice looking frame lock design that you should probably look into, that you will probably like, etc. So I decided to pick it up. I looked at some photos. I think or maybe I didn't check out any videos, but I took a look at the knife and felt like, yeah, this does look like a really nice design. A little bit more plain in a way compared to many of the other Maxace knives that I own, but that does not mean it is a non-interesting knife or a bad knife in any way. Sometimes simple is indeed better as well. So let's start with the unboxing here, and then we can take a look at the overall design and go over the specifications. So unboxing it is first now. So not a very fancy box, but hey, does it really matter that much? So here we have the pouch. Pretty, well, not simple, but it is highly functional, I would say, with the Maxace logo and the Midnight Cat Studios logo. So let's open it up, and we have some silica gel. Yeah. Can save that. We have some additional screws and hardware. Interesting, an extra steel locker insert. Some screws. Is there a stop pin as well? Yeah, so we get a few spare parts here. I think that's actually a really nice touch. I think this should be, I would really like this to be included with all the folders that I buy. It's never a bad thing to have some spare parts, right? Is there something? Oh, and then there is a piece of cloth here to keep the blade nice and shiny. So yeah, but this is, I really appreciate this. I don't know a whole lot of makers that send this with their folders. Out of the few, or well, not a few, but out of the ones I have, I've gotten these sorts of spare parts with Maxace, with Riat, and yeah, that's probably the only two, I think. So let's see, the main event here is of course the knife itself. And let's open, yeah. So, very nice, soft, and actually kind of thick. Well, whatever this material is called. A nice pouch, no doubt about it. Feels very sturdy, you know. Thick, sturdy, and, you know, impact resistant, perhaps. So, here is the knife itself. A little bit more plain looking than most other Maxace knives that I've shown, but there is actually some nice texture or milling lines here. See if you can catch it on the camera. It's not that easy. Nice backspacer, some blue color, as well as for the pocket clip. Let's see. So there are actually some nice details going on, and pretty, you know, clean lines overall, I'd say. And the centering is spot on. That is a 100% centered blade, no doubt about it. Yeah, let's see if we can flip it up. Oh, really nice flipping action. Closing action is, man, really swift opening action. Closing action is very nice as well. You know, with just a little bit of oil or something, it's gonna be very drop shotty. But this is very nice out of the, you know, out of the box right away, not broken in or anything at all. So let's take a look here. Titanium scales, M390 blade, as can be seen there. And we have a drop point design, as can be seen. No crazy, you know, grind lines or crazy swedge grinds or anything, although there is actually a bit of a swedge grind here. Not that it's, you know, it's still kind of almost a full thickness up here, not really, but, you know, a fine, more sublime swedge grind going on. This will be more of a sharpening choil because this will not fit my fingers safely. So just pointing that out right away. This is tricky, or not tricky, this is risky, I would say. Full flat grind should be fairly obvious here if the light is with me, but a full flat grind. Like I said, sometimes simple is better in some sense. Obviously this is a frame lock design, as can be seen, with a really solid lockup as well. There is no lock stick. We've already, you know, opened and closed it quite a few times. Absolutely no blade play whatsoever. So let's take a look at the numbers then. We have a total length, very back part to the very tip here. It is 215 millimeters, so 21.5 centimeters. We have a blade length of 85 millimeters. We have a blade thickness, and the full thickness will actually be kind of difficult to see because this, you know, this sublime swedge grind that I spoke about, it starts at the very, you know, almost the very start, but you can see this portion up here. This is where you see the full thickness, and then it goes into the, you know, ever so slight swedge grind. But we do have a full thickness up here at 3.5 millimeters. So a fairly stout blade, I would say. The close length is 120 millimeters. And the weight should be around 150 grams, I'd say. So I was actually a bit surprised when I got this knife, or when I picked it up here, because yes, this is not the absolute first time I pick it up, because when I ordered it, I did, pick it up just to get a glimpse of it before making this video. I was, a bit too excited to actually wait for recording the video. And I felt like it was slightly larger than what I expected. And I must have, not paid attention to the specs in full. Maybe I just, order it pretty much. But it was a larger knife than what I thought it would be. Looking at the photos, I felt like it was gonna be smaller. I didn't watch any other videos or anything before I ordered it, so I just had the photos, and I did of course have the specs, and the specs do tell pretty much the whole story, but sometimes you just get a visual image at a first look from some photos. But this is not a small knife. I wear size 10 in gloves. I do have fairly large hands. Placing the knife here in my hand, like this. You see? This is a large knife. A comfortable knife as well, I'd say. There is no jimping or anything going on up here. Placing your thumb here feels pretty good. I think the swedge, it's not sharpened really, but it's not, well, a thicker spine would have perhaps been slightly more comfortable in some sense. Jimping, I don't really, jimping is not super important, to be honest. It's more, once again, personal preferences, much as with, fingered choils or sharpening choils, etc. It's just going to be personal preferences anyways. But it feels, pretty good. Pretty good placing your thumb up here. You do have a sort of a finger groove area here. Very smooth, no sharp edges. So that does feel good in hand. The pocket clip is not in any way protruding. It is nicely rounded, and it's a low profile pocket clip. You do have a lanyard hole for those of you that likes to use lanyards. I do not, but once again, personal preferences. It's a thing, But if you do have a lanyard here and you have my size of hands, it should not be uncomfortable in any way, because, well, your hand will not be pressed against it so much, I think. So a pretty large knife from Maxace. They do make a lot of large knives, so maybe I shouldn't have been, that surprised from the get-go. But the design looked, from photos, it just looked like it would be a slightly smaller size knife. I don't know why, fully. Fit and finish, to me, it looks what you can expect, really nice fit and finish. I am trying to look here for internal milling, and there is quite a bit of internal milling here. It's going to be difficult catching that on camera, but there is a bit of internal milling on both sides here. It's going to be, how are we supposed to catch that without disassembling the knife? That's a bit of a challenge, right? Well, there is quite a bit of internal milling on both sides here, reducing the weight, of course, and making it perhaps a bit more balanced. I don't know where the balance point is right now. The balance point seems to be here at the finger groove area. So it is obvious that without the internal milling there, it would have been a lot more unbalanced. Not a bad thing having a balance point here. Balance point could have been even further ahead, I think, but then we see that it does favor the back part of the knife. So nice opening, nice closing action, fit and finish seems spot on, ergos are quite nice, useful blade grinds. Let's test the factory sharpness next. I've never ever been disappointed with the factory sharpness of a knife from Maxace. They make some of the sharpest edges, I believe. So let's see what we can slice up. In terms of sharpness test, we're gonna go with our 3 usual suspects. We're gonna go with some regular printing paper. We're gonna go with some magazine paper, and we're gonna go with some newspaper paper. And as always, we start out with the regular printing paper. It's kind of hard to get it in camera here. Yeah. Yeah, holy shit, that is insanely sharp. This is actually scary sharp. Definitely the kind of sharpness that I've come to expect from Maxace. Insanely sharp. Jesus. Oh man. Yeah, I really do believe that Maxace have the sharpest, knives. In terms of, factory edges. This is insane. So totally shredded. The paper absolutely effortless. Both doing, full slicing movements, utilizing long parts of the edge here, but also doing more like press cuts. Super impressive. Super impressive. So then we have the magazine paper up next. Going for some, wavy patterns as well, just because we can. Let's take another page as well. Let's go for some wavy moves again here, see what we can do. Breaking down. The thing is here, it's difficult. I need to show the paper in camera, because if I just do like this, it won't be totally visible, will it? I'm not quite sure. This is a slicing machine. Scary sharp. Paper shredding. Yeah, I mean, just from these two, you know, first paper slicing tests, I would rate this knife a 10 out of 10 in sharpness. That is how sharp it is. Let's go with the newspaper now. Let's see. This is actually quite impressive stuff. And the full flat grind does help, you know, slicing paper like this. Yeah, this knife is just insanely sharp. Holy shit. You know, by now it takes quite a lot to impress me. I've handled a lot of knives from some of the best knife makers in the world. I know a sharp knife when I see one and when I feel one. This is scary sharp, insanely sharp. Should make, you know, hair pop off. So I'll see if I can do some leg hair shaving. And for you, I know that it's been requested by some viewers not to do that on video. So be warned, because I will do it now. Like it or not, we're gonna shave some leg hair. And I don't have a whole lot of leg hair as always or as usual, but the little I have I will try to remove as nice and evenly as possible. So let's test this out now, shall we? Totally effortless. You barely have to touch, you know. Just falls off. So will it shave leg hair? It most definitely will. Do I have any arm hair? I don't have a whole lot of arm hair left. But leg hair pops off with a, you know, bare touch to it. This is a very sharp knife. I feel like this might become one of my kitchen helpers due to its sliciness. And what better test is there than to slice this one up? Let's go with full circles. I only had one left in my fridge here, but let's see how well this one cuts. Pretty much sinks through. I wonder, you know, I've seen in some videos, I've never tested myself, maybe I shouldn't do this, but when people sometimes put like a, you know, tomato or something like this, and then they, or a grape perhaps, and then they slice through like this, you know, having it just be on the cutting board like that. I'm not, you know, this is probably something that looks easier than it is, or that is, you know, prepared in some sense for videos, but I'm gonna give it a go just to see, because this knife is, it has the sharpness to slice like that, Perhaps the thickness, perhaps it is actually a little bit too thick even with a full flat grind, but let's see if we can actually do something like this. I'm not sure if how I should. Come back here. Like I said, it's probably easier if you have some experience. I just wanted to try this because I've seen it on, is it maybe on the TV or perhaps YouTube or something? Man, it's... Well, it is, I mean, it is obviously sharp, but I feel like I'm lacking perhaps the proper technique. I've never claimed to be a master of this. Perhaps there is some, special technique to it. I'm not sure. I'm just doing it the way I can. Anyways, I mean, it's actually kind of fun trying this out. I think you guys can tell that the knife is in fact quite sharp. If it just stayed a little bit, it would have been ever so slightly easier to cut like that. Well, it is a super sharp knife. Just, it just sinks through. Reminds me when I put one of my axes in my or when I let one of my axes sink right through my hand. Good memories. That was a sharp axe. I'm not really sure what we're doing right now, but it feels super satisfying just, doing these super random, kind of useless slices. Just feels incredibly great. It is insanely sharp. Yeah, this knife is super slicey and super sharp. So it took me by surprise, both in the size of the knife and also in factory sharpness. And I was expecting it to be super sharp, but this is, I think it is the level of sharpness combined with a flat grind. This is a slicing machine. Very, very impressive stuff, I've got to say. Super impressive. Let me try to summarize my thoughts here about the Maxace Balance 4, a knife that actually took me quite by surprise. I mean, we should not forget that I did pick up a lot of knives from Maxace, but this was always left sitting on the shelf. Maybe because I thought that it didn't look very, special in some sense. But looks can be deceiving, obviously. But let's start from the very beginning here. I think the pouch is very well made. It feels, compact, sturdy, tough, impact resistant, nice materials. A really nice pouch that feels, of high quality. Looking at the contents of the pouch, yeah, the cloth piece is a nice addition, but this, having all these spare parts included, that is a really nice touch. And I do hope to see more manufacturers, brands and makers take after and include spare parts such as these. The knife itself, I'm not sure it is a plain looking knife. I'm not sure we could get, you know, these details to show, but there are some nice semi-sublime touches to this knife. Some nice details. It is, you know, there is more than meets the eye in terms of, you know, general design, if we're speaking the handle or the blade. The fit and finish is spot on. It is perfect. The ergos are great. I did mention here in the video that it's not super comfortable, but truth be told, I mean, it is really nitpicking, because it is, you know, it feels not bad at all. Would a slightly thicker spine have felt better, or if there was not, you know, this swedge grind starting already from this back part here, perhaps it would have felt slightly better. But to me, I am really looking for problems or trouble mentioning it. I could have skipped mentioning it, to be completely honest. In terms of performance, this knife is super sharp. It is a slicing machine. I would feel, you know, fully comfortable having this as my, you know, kitchen folding knife, doing any types of slicing of fruits, vegetables, meats, etc. This one would do it all. And it does have quite a nice belly to it as well. Sure, it could have been slightly longer. It would have been useful in certain kitchen elements or for certain, you know, food prep related tasks. But I mean, this is a folding knife, and like I stated in the very beginning of the video, I thought the knife was going to be smaller than it was. It's actually quite a bit larger than I was expecting when I first unboxed it. This knife took me by quite surprise, and it shows me once again that you don't have to go with over, you know, complicated knife grinds or grind lines or handles, etc. Sometimes, you know, simplicity is to be preferred, and even then this knife isn't that simple. There is some really nice details and touches going on here, but that is somewhat easily overlooked in, you know, comparison to many other knives and models out there that are perhaps trying too hard in some senses. So if you're looking for a, you know, a really useful, versatile knife with great ergos, nice details without being, you know, over the top, and extreme performance, then I would highly recommend you to look into this specific knife, the Maxace Balance 4. I've seen it available in two different versions. One is of course this one, the grey with blue details for pocket clip and backspacer, but there's also one in the same blue color for the titanium scales. Maybe there are other versions, I am unaware of that. But do not let yourself be, you know, deceived like I was by what can, you know, look like a simple design. There is a lot more going on with this one than meets the eye. And I highly recommend this one. Maxace Balance 4. A real slicing machine.